welcome to Christian Weather Broadcasting. Right now we're going to be taking a look at Hurricane Lee, Margot, and some other systems, but before we do, repent and put your faith in Jesus, because only He can save you from hell. We deserve hell for our sin, also death. But Jesus can save you from hell, which is also called the second death. And if you'd like to know more, check out the gospel message in the description. So, as I said, we're going to be looking at Hurricane Lee, Hurricane Margot, another system in the Atlantic, and some other weather effects that are going to be happening in the United States. Plus, there is a plus a major system that happened in Libya. Let's get started right now. So, here is Hurricane Lee on satellite imagery. You can see there's the center of Hurricane Lee right there. And if we go to the visible high-res here, we can definitely see the eye on this system. So I was wrong when I thought it was starting to deteriorate yesterday. But the system is not deteriorating yet. It will weaken into a Category 2 by tomorrow at 8 p.m. according to the latest forecast, but right now it's going to remain steady. So that's what we're seeing right now as far as intensity goes. We're probably not going to see it intensify anymore or weaken for the next couple hours, possibly for up to a day, depending on exact track, but as I said, by tomorrow 8 p.m. it's forecast to be a Category 2. So we'll see this eventually weaken into a Category 2, but not immediately. Let's go into the track, and also, before we do this, let's mention the other systems we have out here. Hurricane Margot, 80 miles an hour wind, 977 millibar pressure, moving north at 14 miles per hour. Margot's just going to tool around in the ocean, and it doesn't look like, nope, Margot is not going to affect any land at all, so nothing to worry about there. We have this disturbance 1 here. So it says about this one, a broad area of low pressure over the eastern tropical Atlantic continues to produce disorganized showers and thunderstorms. This system is expected to consolidate with a low on the western side becoming dominant over the next day or two. Gradual development of the low is expected after that, and a tropical depression is likely to form by this weekend, while the system moves west-northwestward or northwestward at about 15 miles per hour across the central Atlantic. And there's an idea of where this system could go. Let's go to Hurricane Lee right now and read the key messages for Hurricane Lee. Dangerous surf and life-threatening rip currents will affect portions of the northern Leeward Islands, the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, Hispaniola, the Turks and Caicos Islands, the Bahamas, Bermuda, and most of the U.S. East Coast through much of the week. There's an increasing risk of strong winds, rainfall, and high surf impacts to Bermuda later this week, and a tropical storm watch remains in effect for the island. It remains too soon to know what level of additional impacts Lee might have along the northeastern U.S. coast and Atlantic Canada late this week and this weekend. However, since wind and rainfall hazards will extend well away from the center as Lee grows in size, users should continue to monitor updates to Lee's forecast during the next several days. And I will show you an interesting, I'll show you the GFS model run simulated IR, and you'll get an idea of those effects being outside of the cone. Let's go take a look at that cone and see exactly how intense this is going to be. So as I said, by tomorrow at 8 p.m., it's going to be a Category 2 hurricane, and it's going to start moving once again faster. It's going to go by Bermuda, not forecast to make a landfall, but there is a tropical storm watch in effect for Bermuda, and it's supposed to approach Canada right now as a Category 1 hurricane with 75-mile-an-hour wind, 90-mile-an-hour gusts, and it'll move through Canada as a tropical storm, eventually weakening to 45-mile-an-hour wind, 60-mile-an-hour gusts, and according to the Weather Channel, it has the possibility of becoming extra tropical, but that just means it doesn't have tropical characteristics. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't watch this storm. Right now we're looking at a possible landfall from Maine all the way, as I said, into Canada, with the center track being up into Canada. A quick little warning about this cone of uncertainty here. The cone of uncertainty is supposed to show the exact forecast for where the center of the storm, that is, the center where the lowest low pressure of the storm is. The center of the storm. That is what the cone of uncertainty is showing. The cone of uncertainty shows where it's possible that that system could go. Effects, on the other hand, can go outside of that system. In fact, we could see, I would say possibly, I think I'd have to look exactly on the map, but as far down possibly, I'd have to look on the map again to prove this. New Jersey, New York, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Connecticut, New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine could all feel effects from the storm. And let me show you why. Let's go to the GFS simulated IR forecast here. And right now it seems to be updating. But what will happen is this storm, the effects of this storm, will be moving into those states as the center tracks up into Canada. So, based on the way this storm is looking, we could see those effects. And it seems that, based on the last model run, most of the effects are on the left side of that storm. Of that storm, so you can see why the East Coast could be affected by this storm. And also, not to mention, there is the possibility, as it's been talked about, of surf, and rip currents. So please be safe. And one other thing I should note is that I heard on the Weather Channel, possibly Carolinas all the way up to where Landfall is where we'll see the effects of that storm. And so definitely get prepared for the storm. Now, we do also have other weather going on right now. And in the panhandle of Florida and into Georgia, currently it seems there's thunderstorms there, and I think there's a possibility of severe storms, so please be safe. Also up in South Carolina and moving into North Carolina, though there are thunderstorms there, so again, please be safe and stay tuned to your local weather service. There's also the possibility of flooding from a cold front moving through, and you can see that right there. Here, let me circle it so you can get a better look there. You can see that moving through, and that's supposed to bring some storms in. It could bring, from the Weather Channel's broadcast that I was watching, up to 1 inch of rain in some of those storms. So do please be prepared for the possibility of this system coming through. And I think there may be floods already, but I'm not sure if they're in that area. I'd have to do some more research on that. But that is what's going on right now. And now it's time for tomorrow's forecast with the GFS model. 24-hour rain accumulation. This is the last model run. It seems that it may be updating. Right now, it looks like Florida is going to experience under 1 inch of rain. Good portion of the East Coast under 1 inch of rain, though. Areas up in PA and up further north could experience over 1 inch of rain. So if you live in those areas, do be prepared for the possibility, as mentioned, of flash flooding. Western Washington looking like an under 1 inch of rain. Oregon looks like you may remain completely dry except for a portion or two. Texas could experience over 1 inch of rain, and states around Texas could also experience over 1 inch of rain. California remaining mostly dry there. Let's go to the the GFS temperature forecast. And as you can see, it looks like Florida is going to be experiencing anywhere from the low to high 90s. The Carolinas are experiencing 80s. And then when you go higher, PA is going to be experiencing 60s to 70s. You can see the warmer temperatures on one side of the front, which is kind of cool in this forecast here. And you can also see that up near around Maine looking like low 60s to high 60s. On the west coast, we're looking at low 60s to mid 70s on the eastern side. In Oregon, 60s is what we're looking at, and in California, looking like possibly up to the low 80s. Colder in some areas, though. Looks like even down to the 50s in some portions of California. And in the Midwest, we're looking at 70s to possibly low 80s, depending on exactly where you are. And other areas could go as low as the 50s. Now it's time to talk about Libya. So, Libya was hit by a Medicane. It made landfall, I believe, on Sunday or Sunday night over into Monday, and it has caused absolute destruction. Not from the wind, but from the rain. The rain caused just incredible flash flooding, to the point that it is presumed over 5,000 people have died from that. And I did forecast that system, so I'd like to apologize for thinking it wouldn't be too bad. I obviously should have considered the rain when it comes to this system, so please, people, just keep these people in your prayers, because this was a very, very, very bad system. And that also leads me to mention the whole area of the Mediterranean. I feel like we need to have better forecast coverage of this area for these Medicanes. Though not very common, we need to have better coverage, because you can see the utter destruction they can do sometimes. So, yeah, that is what we're seeing in Libya. Alrighty, everybody, thanks for watching. This has been Christian Weather Broadcasting.